Good.
Alright, there we go. So, alright. Sorry about that, just trying to troubleshoot through some volume issues with the headsets. Okay, so we got our windows open. Let's see what else we got here. Our side vents. Down here. Okay, I think that's everything. So, headlight, class lights. And we extend the smokestack here.
This is what I love about this engine, is that you can just say, like, I've got the class lights on, now I'm going to extend the smokestack, and you can actually do all this in Train Sim for the first time, you know? Just go with it.
Yeah, and especially if you think about it with this specific locomotive being completely free of charge, which I think is pretty cool. So,
Yeah, especially that.
alright, let's see here. What else do we need to do? think we're good here. Cylinder cocks. Bell. Whistle. So I've intentionally spawned us in with low water in the tender. So we're gonna have to take a quick stop by the water plug. We'll top off the tender cistern before we go pick up the train.
I am adding the web page where you can download this engine to the description of the video, or description in the stream, so that you can download it. And like Manuel said, it is 100% free.
A little too far there. Try that again. Alright, that should do it.
You're the only person I know who backs them under the water tanks perfectly.
Yeah, it's just an OCD thing for me. Let's see.
I appreciate it.
One of the neat features on this locomotive is actually a working tank level indicator gauge. So this actually shows you how much water is in your tender in terms of feet from the base of the tender cistern. So right now we're just about empty. So as we fill the tender, you'll see this needle actually climb. I think it's pretty neat. Now the water hatch is also open when the tender is being filled. Here we go. So you can see in the F5 heads up display that our tender is being filled, and you can also see the needle moving on the gauge. So that's a really cool feature if you ask me.
Hey Brian, welcome to the stream today. No problem about yesterday. Good to see you today.
Well, while we're sitting here, we can blow the boiler down. So the controls for that are Shift J and Control J. I think Shift J is for the fireman's side and Control J is for the engineer's side. Yes. So if you go to the exterior view, you can actually see this happening, which is, I think, is pretty cool. Everything's animated, so you can see all the valves and the levers moving, and then the exhaust comes from underneath. So, engineer side. Our tender's almost full here. We're just about 2,000 gallons shy of a full tank. Should be there pretty soon.
I love steam locomotives. 2,000 gallons is just shy of a full tank.
There we go. Alright, hatches are closed. Tank indicator is full, so let's head back over to the engineer's side. Gear forward. Brakes release. Bell on. 2 whistles. Make sure we're lined up. Alright.
Every time I look at this engine, I go, I can't believe this is freeware.
Yeah, me too. Double check our lineup. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, so if you go onto my channel and watch the videos that I've uploaded of this locomotive, I've included all the download links and whatnot so that you can download this locomotive for yourself.
Looks like it's better than Dream World 2. Yes, it is. It is freeware. The link to the locomotive to save time is also in the description of this video, as well as Fan Rally's mod, but I don't have the car links or anything like that. I wish we were really there.
No you don't. There's nothing going on over there right now.
If this was there, it would be nice.
Wait until the 611 goes back. But even then, I prefer the 611 at Strasbourg. At least at Strasbourg, it actually has space to run. Not just back and forth in their yard.
I mean, unfortunately, that's the sad truth about most steam operations today,
Yeah.
is they've been reduced to nothing.
If you know where to look, there's a couple of really neat operations.
There's a few, but a lot of what used to be steam is kind of disappearing. mostly courtesy of PTC and insurance.
Yeah, it's a shame. Okay, so we're hooked on to our consist. We got, let's see here if I remember the math correctly. The locomotive itself is 480 tons. The consist total is 2,210 tons in 25 cars plus the locomotive. So minus the locomotive, the consist itself weighs about a tad over 1,700 tons. The ruling grade on this line is 1.4%. So for this locomotive with about 70,000 pounds of tractive effort, it should be just enough to get us through. Most of the grades on this line are between a 0.5% and 1%. So, and the line speed once you diverge off the main line onto the end line is only 25 miles an hour. So it's gonna be light work for this locomotive today. So while we're sitting here, I'm gonna be aiming for an 8:15 departure. Let's conduct a brake test real quick.
It really is a testament to how far Train Simulator has come, that you're able to conduct a brake test prior to departure. I mean, I remember Microsoft Train Simulator where you got like no indications at all of what your brakes were doing. You just sort of moved the handle and hoped. And now we got needles on every gauge that work perfectly and all sorts of stuff. You can hear it all.
I should do it. Blow down the boiler again.
So the incident with 844 didn't help liability, but at the same time, UP's kind of in a different boat because they, A, are a Class 1 railroad, but also usually it's empty of people. So they're not always paying for all the passengers they're hauling. Their insurance in terms of hitting somebody probably didn't change very much. But it's not their fault, so it's not like a huge liability thing in that sense. Yeah, the fact that we have any Class 1s or Class 2s in this country that are willing to put the time, effort, and money into restoring and running steam locomotives, fortunately means it'll probably never die. Yeah, the Denver paper, whatever it was that was sponsoring those trips to Denver, from Denver to Cheyenne, eventually pulled out of it, which is why they don't do it anymore.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, that was an ownership change and the new owners didn't want to pay for it.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Which is a shame, because that's a really cool trip. Just from Cheyenne to Denver and return. It's a really neat, very easy to chase, too. It's a lot
And
of
it's not that
pacing on the
long a
green.
day.
No, it's not.
So, like, in terms of, they don't have to fly
I think they go
to make
down.
that.
They go down one day, they overnight, and they come back the next day or something
Yeah,
like
so
that.
it's only a couple hours. I
Yeah.
mean, when we went out for 4014 the last time, um, we flew into Denver, caught up with the engine there, and chased to Cheyenne. We were done by mid-afternoon to the point we were sitting around going, what do we do for lunch?
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like some of the big boy days we had going through like Arkansas and Nebraska where
Oh yeah, those are like 8-hour days.
you start at 10 o'clock in the morning and you're flat dead at 8 o'clock at night going, I might love a steam engine, but can you please put it away?
So yeah, so one of the things I love about oil firing, when it's done, when it's simulated correctly, versus coal firing, is just the instantaneous reaction that you can get, uh, the response that you can get from the steam generation in the boiler when you manipulate the oil firing handle. So if you look at the steam generation rate in the F5 heads up, uh, versus what I do with the handle, if I just crack it just a little bit, because I'm idling right now, so we're not using all that much steam. I can very easily manipulate how fast the steam gen rate increases just by moving the handle. And if I don't need it that high, I can just completely cut off the flow of oil. I mean, not that you want to do that in real life, because it's instantaneous. If you cut the flow of oil off, you don't have a fire. But which is actually what this. I don't know if you can see you can't see my mouse probably, but this little contraption here with the knob is meant to set a minimum setting for the oil firing handle on the quadrant, so you can't fully shut it off and therefore kill your fire when you're going down the road. Yes, we are aware, or at least I am aware, that the Durango and Silverton is
Mm-hmm.
converting its coal-fired locomotives to oil firing.
Yeah,
I think
I've heard that too.
it's a prudent move, especially after the fire that happened a couple of years back. But I think oil is it's just a different kind of animal if you
I mean,
think about
the
it.
thing about oil that I appreciate 100% why they're doing it because the forest fire risk for them is just way too high. But there's something about coal fire. While I appreciate oil's easier to work with, or at least it's easier to run, but at the same time, there's something about coal that's just you can't replace. Oil. If you've been around a big, oil engine, especially like a big boy or something like that, it stinks. Whereas coal has that smell that you're used to from seeing smaller museum engines that you just lose with oil. Now I get it, you have to, especially with something that big. But with Durango and Silverton, same rule. I mean, we were at where were we? We were at Jim Thorpe
Oh yeah,
chasing 425, and they were setting forest fires,
yeah.
blowing embers out the stacks. So in a place like where Durango and Silverton is, it just 100% makes sense to convert.
All right. So what time is it?
If we're setting the ground on fire in Pennsylvania, you're asking for problems out west. Why is my pocket full of Mentos? There'll be coal. Strasburg will always be coal. Um, a lot of the smaller tourist stops, I'm sure Reading and Northern is never going to convert.
Yeah, not so long as they have access to good anthracite. I
I
think
mean, yeah,
the
especially
RNN.
around here.
Yeah.
R&N won't. Anything in Pennsylvania won't. And if you're running small-ish engines in an area where you probably aren't going to start massive fires, and you have access to a decent supply of coal, it's easier in a lot of ways. If you've ever done like the hostling tours and stuff like that at Strasburg, they just have piles of coal lying around. If you have oil, you have to keep it in a tank or something. And a lot of that stuff you can't let get very cold because oil, if you don't know, when oil gets cold, it turns into a sludge. and you're not going to be able to burn that, and it probably wouldn't even pass through the piping very well. Ooh, smokestack goes up and down. I love that even that thing is automated, is animated.
Want to see something real cool? This is one of the things I noticed, like not even on the smoke box locomotives, this is animated, but on this one it is. I have to see if I can get it to go off.
Was that the compressor?
Yeah, these are the compressors.
Of course, it doesn't want to go
There
the
it
one.
is.
Oh my god.
Alright.
Completely unnecessary, but cool nonetheless.
Oh, it's gratuitous for sure, but I'm not complaining. Alright, so what we're gonna do here is different from how I've rehearsed this run, only because I want to get a little bit of speed going before we diverge onto the end line. So instead of pulling forward out of the yard and staying at 15 miles an hour basically until we're past the Amtrak station here, I'm gonna back out onto the main here. That way we can get a little bit of higher speed running before we get stuck doing 25 miles an hour for 50 so miles. It's the branch itself is about 25 or so miles in length, so it takes about an hour to run down this line if you're following speed limits. And we'll get down to Halls Ferry Junction siding here, and then we'll run the locomotive around, and we'll drag the train back to the museum. So think of Strasbourg, but in reverse and also a lot longer. So each one of these trips should take about 2.5 to 3 hours or so for one trip. So if in my little fantasy world, if this was a normal thing, they'd have a trip leaving around 8 o'clock, noon, and 4 o'clock on the weekends or something like that, which would be pretty cool.
So when are you buying the line?
Yeah, very funny.
I'm sure they sell it to you. NS and CSX are dumping track faster than they can.
Yeah. Time is it? Oh, we got 2 minutes, so we'll start building the fire up a little bit.
McBrien says, speaking of Strasbourg, I assume you got to run the 611 there.
Oh yeah, that last June. Yeah. Yeah, we did that last June.
He ran it. I fired it.
It was an experience.
That's one of those things you do once, and you go, that was a good spend of a couple $100. I don't need to do it again.
At least not on the same locomotive.
Right. You know, $611 is a lot of money for half an hour. What's the one we're doing?
Oh, we'll be down in Cumberland, Maryland come October for the 1309 throttle sessions.
Yeah. That one was even more money, but you get to run it for longer.
And on some real piece of railroading too.
Yeah, you get to go up a pretty good hill.
Alright, so we're coming up 8:15, so it's time to shove back. All the passengers are on board. Alright, let's put her in gear.
So I think it's fun like being a pilot or anything else. Whatever you do a lot of stops being the novelty.
So the sander is actually directional, which is really cool. We're going in reverse, so as we shift X, and if you look, you can see the sand coming out of the sander in the rear. If I want forward sand, you hold X in the positive direction, and it shifts to the front. Alright. So slack in. We're moving back here, so I guess the slack's in.
I was gonna say, there's one way to find out.
Oops, that's the wrong view. There we go.
I like this view, just the bar. I'm good with that.
Alright.
Yeah, it would be like driving free now. It's no big deal. Not to say it's not fun to be flying. I love it. But it's not like when you get to do that guest operator trip on your hand on throttle or whatever they want to call it on the 611. It's like the only time you get to run it, you better enjoy it, and of course you do. It's just kind of, this is awesome that I can do this, but it's the same thing I've done before. Oh god, that video of 611 flipping. That video's painful. I got a question for you, Mike. So in single player, who's protecting the shove?
I guess I am.
Well, then who's driving?
I guess I am.
That's awkward.
That's what the F5 heads-up display is for. Speaking of heads-up displays, if you're running this locomotive, it will not work properly if you try to use the F4 heads-up display. So don't use the F4 heads-up display. It'll run, but you lose a lot of the finesse. Like you can't select any intermediate positions on the oil firing valve. It's either completely on or completely off. So I prefer not to use the F4 heads up with steam locomotives.
Don't do it. I tried once. It's asininely clunky.
Alright. If you're using the injector, you gotta remember, you gotta open the water valve before you pull the starting handle, otherwise the injector won't work. Same thing with the exhaust feed water heater. You have to open up the feed water valve before you open up the starting valve, otherwise it won't work. And when you're done using either the injector or the feed water heater, close the water valves. Otherwise, you start to waste water. It just sort of just dumps onto the road bed for no reason. Oh, that's a car. Yes.
I was about
That
to
is
say,
the
I'm
plan.
sure we will.
Yeah, that is the plan. Where's the water level? Oh, that's fine. Okay. Okay, so we got one crossover here, then it's straight shot onto the diverging switch here. Okay, so gear is in full forward. Where's our oil? Oil. Crack that open just a bit more. Brakes. Close the cylinder cocks. There we go. Yes, from this angle you can sort of see how long the train actually is.
Very long. That bridge just disappeared.
Hmm?
You gotta be careful, that bridge is almost low enough to take your smokestack off.
Yeah. Yes, the 2716 should be interesting considering it is coming up to New England. Let's see
That'd be a
here.
little more convenient than Denver. Where's that going? Naugatuck?
What?
It's going to Naugatuck, right?
I don't think so. The 2716 is going up to like the New England Transportation Museum or something. I don't exactly remember where it is. Somewhere in either Massachusetts or Connecticut.
That might answer. Either way, it's a little more convenient for us.
Yeah, switch coming up is 15 miles an hour, so let's break that. That's actually pretty good switch.
Oh, I think it's going to the Railroad Museum of New England.
Yes, I saw it. I don't know. Ben probably didn't see that. It's a pretty small railroad, so probably not too many people know about it.
I didn't see what. Oh, no, the comment.
The Pikes Peak thing.
Oh. Sorry, I'm trying to keep with all the comments. Also enjoying watching his steam engine get run.
Yes. Well, that's way up there. Fancy a trip to Alaska?
Sure, why not? As long as we can wait till it's warmer out.
Yeah, as if it ever gets warm in Alaska.
I think I've actually been to White Pass.
Alright, clear switch, drag that, throttle out. Switch over to the exhaust steam injector. The exhaust deep water heater. Shut off the live video. Oops. There we go.
Got a gotta look for it. I think I have a T-shirt from this place.
What, White Pass?
From White Pass. I did. I went on a cruise in Alaska probably a decade ago, and one of the stops was, I believe, that, like one of the shore excursions.
Yeah.
Because it looks familiar. I know it was steam hauled. One thing I've always wanted to do was ride the real Alaska Railroad too.
Oh yeah, that's definitely an experience.
That's always been high on my list of things to do. Okay, so I just googled the Alaska Railroad. It's $405 to go from Fairbanks to Anchorage. I mean, I'm not saying we can't, but oh, it's half that if you go coach.
Yeah, what were you looking at?
I forgot to click a compare class, and it just assumed I wanted Gold Star service.
What?
But I mean, that's the one with the glass dome ceiling and all that shit.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going up there, you might as well splurge at that point anyway.
I was gonna say, you're spending that kind of money to get up there,
Yeah.
and it's a 12-hour trip, so. Okay, wait a minute. How slow must they be going?
I think it's like mostly 30. 30 most of the way.
I mean, if you go by the train simulator route, the whole thing is like unsignaled manual block.
Yeah.
It's 360 miles. They're doing worse. Oh, it's because they sit places for a long ass time. It's like it goes from Fairbanks to Denali, and then it sits there for 20 minutes. Then it goes from Denali to Talkeetna and sits in Talkeetna for damn near an hour.
Pulling a Russell.
Oh, how fast do you go? Well, I mean, if we really want to get the most out of it, we should start in New York, go up to Montreal, take the Canadian all the way across. I don't know if you can get from there to Alaska. I don't think you can. That train's a fortune, though. Oh, yeah. You have to go that way. Where is it? Are they not running this stupid thing? Oh, it starts in Toronto, that's why. It's 4 days. And if you want to go in the top class, prestige cabin for 2 on the train across Canada, it's $11,000.
Oh
And I thought Amtrak got expensive.
Yeah, that's like a once in a lifetime kind of thing for us middle class folk.
Oh, well, no, for us middle class folk, you don't go in the prestige cabin for 2.
Maybe on your honeymoon or something.
A cabin for 2 is, well, fuck it, that's $7,000 at that point. If we go across on the train, we're taking Amtrak.
Yeah.
I never thought another mode of transit would make Amtrak seem cheap. Oh, 100%. If we were to do any of this, I would have wanted to take the builder across for a long time. I'm just waiting for Amtrak to come back to their damn senses so that they put real food back on the damn things. Because we did Chicago a couple years ago, and we had that flexible, what did they call it?
I don't even want to know.
The BS dining. And it's like airline swill, but that's all you got. Train across Australia. That would be a trip. Wait, is there actually a train across Australia? Yeah, flexible dining. Ugh. Indian Pacific train. Four days aboard the Indian Pacific train. It goes from Perth to where? Sydney. When we did Chicago, it was fun, but part of the problem with that trip was it's only like 18 hours. So by the time you really settle down, it's time to go to bed, and then you get up and you're in Chicago or you're back in New York. That was the time to enjoy the train for a train. Unless they haul it with steam, then it'll be worth it.
No, we'd be too busy chasing it at that point.
I'm not an expert, but I think you've been speeding for a bit here.
Yeah, I know. I should keep her under about 30 or so. Be good, because this is technically a freight line, so this is a freight speeds. But as long as I notice that the tracking stability isn't too bad, I'll push it a little bit.
If you come off, I'm laughing.
I'm not gonna come off. I've run this run at home probably about 5 or 6 times now.
The good thing for Fanziller about going to Chicago is you can get more footage of Tower 18.
Yeah.
Didn't we get chased off that parking deck?
Yeah, when we walked down a level to the actual level where people were. If we had just stayed up where we were before, it would have been fine. But it didn't matter anyway because my phone was dead.
Oh, that's right. That was that blizzard
Yeah.
that was just sapping your phone.
Yeah. It was like -12.
Yeah, we have planned better things.
Yes. Let's get the water. Shut that off.
One thing that was awesome about the Chicago trip, even though we were freezing to death the whole time, was like we're filming the L and it's sparking like crazy because it's just chewing through ice. One of the trains we got on, we just got on a random train in the front car, and you couldn't go from where the doors were to like where the cab was, because there were all these like blue 55-gallon drums that said like de-icing equipment, do not access this area or something, do not enter. What's wrong with a little third rail sparking? I mean, Chicago could fix their problems. They just put a board over the top of the third rail. That's what we do here.
I don't know if you've noticed, but the brake cylinders and the brake shoe rigging and clasp are all animated.
I mean, at this point, if the guy sitting at the computer sneezed, I'd have to expect that to be animated. No, so on Long Island Railroad on the subway, we have a board. It's literally just a piece of wood or a piece of fiberglass or something that protects it a little bit. It's, you know, like 3 inches over top of it. If it needs it bad enough, yeah, they'll treat it, but Metro North claims it doesn't have that problem because their underrunning third rail is good, but I've seen their trains put out some pretty impressive arcs in the winter, in the ice. We've been live for a little over an hour at this point. I would actually dare to say I've seen Metro North put out more sparks in the ice sometimes. Especially on days where it's like we're getting snow and it's, you know, just below freezing, because it'll hit the warmer third rail, melt, and then freeze on the bottom. Did you miss anything? You missed us shoving back out of the station and then running for a bit. But you're here now, that's the important part. We still got plenty to do. The Amtrak will start putting both fans up, especially when it starts getting like icy out.
Recorded directly off of the 2926 herself.
It's funny, every little detail with this engine is like, makes it a little more impressive, you know? Yeah, the day we went out, the last time we had a blizzard, down to Princeton and whatnot, and it was bad out, and they had both fans up, at least in the morning. I think part of the theory is one knocks the ice off, and the other one can maintain contact.
Yes, so when the twin pan order is in effect, the forward pan is isolated from the electrical circuit, and it's purely up to scrape the ice off the wire so that the rear pan has a continuous connection to the wire itself.
But the Acellos look absolutely ridiculous.
Oh yeah, the Acela looks funny with the twin pan order.
You know, most normal engines have like a pan at the front of the engine, a pan at the back of the engine. The Acela train sets, the pans are like right next to each other. So when they're both up, they're like
it looks like one of those old twin arm pans that were on the Arrows before they replaced them.
But with two sliders.
Yes.
Yeah, bad things happen when you start running multiple connections to the overhead. pretty sure you could do twin cams on anything that has twin cams. Whether or not they ordered it is a different story. I always love this view, looking out from the front dome car. I wish Amtrak still had them. Yeah, the Canadian still has them. Alaska's got those ones that are all like glass roof.
Yeah, the
cars.
Vista Jones.
Yeah, but I think they're modern at this point. Like
They're not like
newly made.
they're not heritage or anything.
They're the Colorado rail car, whoever it was
Yeah.
made those.
They're kind of weird looking, if you ask me.
Well, because for some reason Colorado rail car went and said, "All right, let's take whatever the tallest plate we can find is." So they're the height of double stacks, and then they just built them as rectangles. Like, no design aesthetic went into the exterior of those things at all.
Nope.
But who gives a shit? They're nice. But I feel like with a lot of this railroad stuff, like, you know, nobody, like, it was not, when they were building steam locomotives, they were not saying, well, we got to make this thing as beautiful as possible. Maybe when they went to streamlining, they started saying that. But, you know, 4014 was not laid out the way 4014 is laid out because it was the most aesthetic, like, pleasing way to make that engine. They looked at the engine and said, what's the way I can get the most power out of this? And that's what they built. And I feel like that's true. The same holds true with those Colorado rail car, Vistadomes, Superdomes, whatever you want to call them. Is they kind of said, we want to make this as luxurious and open and airy as possible. So we're just going to do that. And if it's a giant rectangle, it's a giant rectangle. I mean, U.S. rail cars who took over for Colorado rail cars. was really trying to push this version of a double-deck DMU they were trying to sell to the country. They claim the damn thing holds like almost 200 people, and it's like 20 feet tall. 20 something. I think it was more than that. Like, okay, not a bad idea, but massive. And then they were building a single-deck version of it, and the single-deck version, forget the fact that it's diesel, was still too tall to like fit into Penn Station. It was like 16 feet tall for a single-deck version.
So I want your opinion on something. You think the locomotive looks better with the stack retracted or with the stack extended?
Yeah, I was gonna say retracted too, actually. But I think I'm partly biased to retracted because I'm used to looking at engines like 4014 and 844, you know, and the other giant ones that don't have those big tall smokestacks. But this is one of those large engines, so it would fit with all the others to have the retracted. Yeah, most of the big engines had the shorter smokestacks because the height of the engine was so tall.
Yeah, a lot of that has to do with clearances and things.
I mean, if you've got an engine the height of, 4014, and then you add on to it a 3-foot tall smokestack, you're really starting to eat into overhead clearances. you like your locomotive smokestacks like you like your beer? The taller the better. Oh my god. Yeah, this route is loaded with crossings, and this engine has a nice whistle, so it makes it very pleasant.
Straightaway's coming up to an end right up there, so I think my oil firing handle's already cut back a bunch. Where are we at here? 44 pounds. So, shut the throttle. Completely to drift. First gear pull forward. Shut the feed water heater off since there's no more exhaust being heat the feed water. And take a light rig application. This is once again why I wish this game was multiplayer, because boy would I love to have a fireman right now. But I gotta be my own fireman and my own engineer.
Well, Train Sim World was going to be, oh wait, never mind.
Huh?
I was going to say Train Sim World's supposed to be multiplayer.
Yeah.
I'm
Alright.
starting to think that,
Believe it when I see it.
yeah. Maybe Train Sim World 9. But on the other hand, we're never going to have steam locomotives for Train Sims because they don't let nobody build anything, so to hell with it.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
So does this direction stay downhill most of the way?
How far do we have left to go? I think there's one more slight uphill, and then there's that steep downhill into the last siding.
So it's mainly uphill coming back.
I mean, not really. This entire branch line is basically just a rolling hill, so you're always either going up or down. I wouldn't say it's more primarily in one direction or the other, but the two 1.4% grades are both in the inbound direction back towards the museum. So
Okay.
In fact, the last grade that comes down into the siding is one of the 1.4s. I am actually going to have to shove forward and then come back to get a running start at that hill.
Really?
Yeah. Otherwise, she doesn't like it very much. I can make her spin, and it just looks silly. The Transit Authority isn't what it used to be. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't end up seeing R32 parts on the surplus.
Unfortunately, probably won't. Okay, so I go on there to look at it, and the first thing I see on the MTA website is B, D, N, Q, R, and W trains are running with delays after the NYPD removed an unauthorized person from the tracks on the Manhattan Bridge. Like, Jesus.
That's New York City for you these days.
Place is going to hell in a handbasket.
You say that again.
So let's see, do we have anything interesting for surplus sale? You could buy a refuse canister, aka a garbage can. They are selling seats. I don't know what they're off of. They're selling those giant black garbage bins.
Yeah, I know.
Can you imagine how bad that must smell?
I mean, I'm assuming they're cleaned, but also, why would you want one of those? They're so
Well, I mean,
clunky.
isn't that what you put in your kitchen?
Oh my god.
Well, I mean, they're bomb-proof.
That's...
I kind of want one of these two-train strip mats. Yeah, I mean, when the Redbirds got scrapped, they sold parts. Like, I have a door, roll sign. I got a whole bunch of parts kicking around. I got an air brake gauge. I got a throttle, or a master controller, a couple other things. You can go out to Ohio to the scrapper and see if you can get them. I mean, the cars that are going to scrap don't have roll signs in them, as far as I can tell from the pictures. So they got to be somewhere. They're still trying to sell these damn grab irons and stanchion poles. They've had a bin of them at the transmitter scene for years.
Yeah, except they want, what, like 40 bucks for one?
Now it's down to 25 bucks.
Or maybe it was always 25, but it's still not worth $25.
I'm surprised the strip clubs haven't bought the poles. I mean, those things held up to 50 years of commuter service. I think they could take a couple of strippers.
Yeah.
Did I just get demonetized?
Oh, not my problem.
They're selling builder plates off some stuff. St. Louis Car Company. They're still selling those things off the bus, too. When you used to put your Metro card into the thing on the bus, there was a light that would light up on the back of the, like facing the passenger cabin behind the bus driver, that would light up like pass, like a TA pass. Student Metro card. Adult, special, like a pass would be, or a special would be like if you had a senior citizen or a disabled card. Transfer if you had one of those like white paper transfers, or I don't know what bypass meant. What do they want for that stupid thing? 75 bucks. Nope, thank you. Thank you, come again. Now you can buy an emergency phone box. I don't know why you'd want that. For 200 bucks, I'll pass. Pick up only. Oh, it comes with the mounting bracket. We still doing good on water and all that?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of water. According to this, we're about 2/3 of a tank.
Oh, plenty.
Yeah. From all my testing, it takes about the tank holds 24,500 gallons of water. It takes about half of that to do a round trip.
Oh.
So what I usually do is I'll do a trip, come back, and as I'm running the locomotive around the train at the museum, I'll stop by the water plug and I'll top off.
Well, that would make sense. The heck is that emoji?
Ben wants to go back to Boston actually, so we can hunt down some of the new red and orange line cars. Probably gonna be later this spring. I was thinking maybe in April after Easter. We'll make a trip up to Boston, but nothing concrete for now. Okay, so this is the last downhill grade before we reach the turnaround siding. So we're just about to the end of the line here. Yep. Let's see. So now basically comes a trick of spotting the train exactly where you want it so that the locomotive can pass around onto the siding without clipping either the first or last car. So let's see if I can do that.
If you clip the first or last car, that's minorly embarrassing.
Yeah.
Just minorly embarrassing.
Just a little bit. Let's see here. There's the start of the siding right there.
Except is always a fun trip, and it's nice because it's a day trip. One's easy to do in a day. Where I want to go, Boston, you can't really do in a day.
No, you cannot.
I mean, you can, but it's tight.
Yeah, it's stressful.
When 66 and 65 were running, you could. '65 and '66 for the overnight Northeast regional trains. They leave. I forget exactly when they leave and get into Boston, but it's very early in the morning.
Yeah.
They get into and leave New York around 3 a.m. So the the reason you could pull it off was you'd get into Boston something like
8. I think it's like
8 in
8
the
o'clock.
morning,
8 or 9 o'clock
8ish, and you'd leave Boston like
at
8
9.
or 9
Yeah.
p.m.
So you get 12 hours in Boston if you take 66.
Yeah, they ran them up until recently. They even had a sleeper on it, but they ran into some problems, partly because COVID was killing numbers, but partly because the sleeper on it, they were pulling the sleeper in DC in terms of selling it, but they were towing the damn thing all the way to Newport News where the train ended, and Virginia got pissed off.
Alright, that, as far as I'm concerned, that's a perfect spot. Okay. So let's uncouple and run this puppy around.
This is the part you always have to be careful with in this game, because it can seem like it's all gone well, and then goes badly. Why did Virginia care? Virginia cared because they felt like if they're paying... So Virginia is one of the states it runs through, so they were subsidizing the train. But they were... And Amtrak was putting sleeper cars on it. But they were only selling sleeper accommodations between Washington, D.C. and Boston because they don't have a place to service the sleepers in south of DC. Like, the train went to Newport News and there was nowhere to do it there. So they were only selling the sleeper cars as far as Washington. And Virginia kind of was like, well, if we're paying for this, you should sell the sleepers all the way down. And they made it stink. That's a good question. Because the time that it left DC was awkward. It was like a 12-hour train between Newport News and Boston. 13-hour train. Yeah, so they can service a regular train in Newport News. They just can't service the sleepers. Because the sleepers, you need access to like linen service and all that kind of stuff, and it's just more than they can handle there. Yeah, really what they should do is make like an overnight train that just goes from DC to Boston. But not my fault. I mean, I thought they should figure out a way to have a one-seat ride from New York to Los Angeles or San Francisco or something like that, but, you know, they never have, so it must not be worth it. There is one way to do it that would not require any switching in Chicago, but you'd have to go on the... You'd have to follow the Sunset Limited. If you left New York and went down to New Orleans on the Crescent, and then got on the sunset limiter and continued. The bigger issue is that all the trains in the West use superliners, but New York can't take superliners.
Alright. Couple stretch. There we go. Okay, good stretch. Alright. Let's see. Headlight off. Go. See, now this is what you see from the rear observation car, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is a cool view.
And then if you go into the rear deck, it's the rear dome. Alright. So as you could see, well, not really from this perspective, but the locomotive itself, this is the start of that 1.4% grade. So it's better if I give the train a running start by shoving forward down into this spur here, and then backing up so that we can attack the grade at speed versus trying to start on the grade. So let's do that brake test real quick. Good, the compressor came on.
The fully animated compressor.
Yes. Okay. That works good enough for me. Okay, gear forward. Brakes released.
Yeah, the other problem is if you brought the like viewliners and amplates onto or into the west coast or the Midwest, is all of your ADA requirements go straight out the window because the superliners board on that lower level that's at low level platform height. So all the platforms out there are low level. Yeah, but crew training, you wouldn't even really need to. I mean, you would a little bit, but that's easy. You know, training people or ordering parts, that's not hard. But it might make a difference. I mean, we'll find out. I don't think they're ever going to have a fully coast-to-coast train, though.
Alright, I think that's quite far enough. Okay, where's our fire at? 45 pounds. Probably want it to be a little higher than that. So crack the firing valve open a bit more.
All right, time to start pulling
Yep. First sand.
backwards.
Release brakes. Throttle.
See, that's more of the. So part of the problem is it's very hard to have a true train that like a one-seat train with that long of a trip, just because of staff on the train and how many crew changes you need and all that kind of stuff. But making it even, but obviously they have trains like the Trans-Siberian Railroad, which are longer. But so what it also boils down to is demand. You need a lot of demand to make it worth it. And because it's going to be very expensive to run a train like that. So there probably isn't that demand because, well, let's face it, air travel is so much faster. This is something you don't see done in Train Simulator very often. This is when you get passengers coming up to the conductor going, "Hi, I want my money back. I was told it would be a 2-hour train ride, not out and back on the same track. I've seen this already."
Shut the sander off. There we go.
Man, that observation car would be a nice ride right now.
Yeah.
Why did you chat a picture of a whale of some description? Okay.
Open air at Strasbourg is definitely something.
Yeah, because you got that platform on the back.
Yeah.
Of course, once you finish riding on that platform for a trip, you got about enough cinders in your hair for a lifetime. I don't think I've ever ridden behind 611, actually.
You're not missing much.
I'm trying to think. I've ridden plenty of trains at Strasbourg, but I don't think I've ever ridden behind 611 or behind Thomas. And I've never ridden that weird diesel rail car thing.
Alright. So the hard part's over.
Yeah.
Gonna come down the hill again, so we'll shut the throttle off. And pull the reverse gear down into the corner to drift. And shut the feed water pump off. We got plenty of water now. Actually, not really, so open up the live injector. There we go. No, I did not actually. I don't know, I've never really been into shoreline. It's always, or South Shore, it's always been kind of out of the way for me.
I kind of wanted to go, but...
You have no excuse.
yeah, I do. It's called being lazy as shit.
Oh my god.
I also had no one to go with, and it's not nearly as fun doing this kind of shit alone. It's also a pain because you gotta get plane tickets, you gotta fly out there, you gotta get a hotel, you gotta get some way to get to and from the damn hotel.
I mean, that's fun though.
Yeah, but it's a lot more fun when you're doing it with somebody.
Eh.
At least for me. Like, I don't mind doing little local trips myself, but if I'm gonna do something big, like travel, you know, out of state, I'd rather have somebody. remember, if you're just joining us, this locomotive that we're running is a new freeware locomotive. The download links are available in the description of this video. The first link is to the locomotive itself. Once again, is freeware, and the second link is to Fanrailer's modification for this locomotive, which is also freeware.
Yeah, also includes the passenger cars that we're using today. Freeware as well. I have someone that sends me stuff from Colorado, but otherwise everything else is stuff I shoot. You could say that.
If we do Big Boy this year, one of my plans is to shoot less necessarily Big Boy, actual Big Boy footage, and more sort of how this whole mess comes to be every year. Sort of like the making of our Big Boy trip in a way. We'll see if it happens. I mean, we gotta see if it's running this year first. We don't know that for sure yet. Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, they'll probably post a schedule. Oh, I don't know. Next couple months. Depends when they're gonna do a trip.
Yeah. Still finalizing a lot of I think the logistical details right now.
Remember, planning the logistics of that engine, especially 4014, is an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got grade restrictions on that engine. They've got
Bridge restrictions, curve restrictions.
turnout restrictions. It's just... And now last year, when they were trying to fill up with water, towns were rejecting, like, were getting mad because they were taking all the town's water. There was that one town, like, just outside New Orleans, that actually didn't let them take water for a minute on the way back out of New Orleans because they lowered the pressure of the water in the whole town first on the way into New Orleans. So, there's a ton to think about. Also, you can't just leave it sitting in the siding. You need a yard for it. You can't, you know, you got to be able to fuel the damn thing. Which means somewhere good you can get a truck up to it. Not sure how much of a dent a water tanker would make in the operation of that thing. We were actually talking about a route like that earlier.
Yeah. It's gonna come down to whether or not they can get through there without encountering grades that are steeper than 2.2%, and also whether or not there's gonna be bridges there that can take the weight of a 4000 class locomotive. Because if not, then it's just not gonna happen.
And chasing in the canyon's gonna suck.
Yeah. I don't think you really can chase in Feather River Canyon. This is not really accessible in that sense. You sort of have
There's
to pick
spots.
a spot. Yeah, you have to pick a spot, and then the next spot you pick can't be within probably about 20 miles of the other spot. Like,
you're gonna get one spot in the canyon itself.
yeah, it's gonna be one of those chases where you gotta plan ahead and plan smart.
And I know where everyone's gonna try and go.
Oh yeah. Everyone's gonna be there. You're not even gonna bother. If you have a drone, there's no reason to go to there.
Because the line to get into that place is gonna be 20 miles
Yeah.
long.
Stay far away from Caddy.
I love how everyone knows, without saying a word,
the
exactly
spot.
what we're talking about. Watch it be
Caddy
all over the internet beforehand. Like, nobody go to Caddy, it's going to be a disaster, and then nobody goes.
No,
Because everyone thinks it's going to be a
there's enough
disaster.
people that chase UP stuff that even if everyone said don't go there, you're gonna have a handful of people who are like, oh, that's my spot.
Yeah, and it'll be a nightmare because there's only parking for like 5 cars.
Yep. That was the problem with Cajon too, because you sort of can't chase up Cajon and get from like one spot to the next spot because you either can't jump across and onto 15 quick enough, or you just like some of the spots are so remote. Like you're not gonna hike out to Sullivan's Curve and then figure you get ahead of the train before it gets to the summit. It's just not happening.
No.
And it's
spelled K.
It's spelled Keddie, or I think it's Kedie. Keddy Y.
Well, I know for sure it's not Keddy.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the spelling. You're still doing better than the other guy.
There's our water. Ooh, a little low.
Yeah, my fear with if they go through the canyon is once you're in there, you're stuck because it's one road.
Basically.
So if that road gets fucked, which you know it will, it's going to be a disaster. The only reason I think they might not want to go that way is there's no escape route. You know, like for them, if something starts to go awry, you're kind of alone.
Eh.
You're also far from water.
I mean, that's where the diesel comes in. If you're worried about conserving water, fuel, you just set the throttle in the reverse gear in a drifting position. And you put the diesel in notch 8 and let it do the work.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know you can do that, but... Diesels are there to keep the train moving, but also keep it stopped. Ed said their biggest priority with the diesels is actually for dynamic braking.
Yes, but I mean, once you have the diesel, you might as well make use of it.
I remember when we were chasing it down Cajon, you're just hearing this diesel roaring in dynamics trying to hold it. I think there were actually like 3 of them on that train.
No, it was 2.
It was 2?
It was 2.
Struggling to hold it back. So in modern terms, we'd call running backwards long hood forward. So are you running long hood forward, or are you running...
short hood forward?
Well, I guess technically one's a long hood and one's a short hood.
Yeah, I think the cab is closer to the rear of the tender than it is to the smoke box. Although, I think the one thing that's kind of pleasing about this locomotive is that the tender is almost as long as the locomotive. So look, it's a very nice balance, in my opinion. Whereas some of these, like older locomotives, they have very short tenders, but the locomotive itself is relatively long in comparison.
Yes.
So I think this locomotive is very pleasing to look at.
Yes, it is. I also do like how the tender is very plain. You know, you've got some tenders that like have curves through them or rivet designs. This is just a very plain box.
Yes.
And it gives you all the information you need, plain and simple. This is my road and this is my number. I'm done.
Oh wow, gas is pretty cheap.
Yeah, you wish. If you put enough money, time, and labor into anything, you can restore it. It might be an obscene amount of money that prevents you from doing it, but... Hello, Nixon. Okay, alright. Well, a GG1, maybe you can't restore no matter how much money you sink into it. But that's because of, you know, biohazards. took them. I'm gonna wait till we're done with all the crossings. If you took an ACS 64 and you stuck it in a GG1, it wouldn't sound right. It wouldn't look right. It wouldn't feel right.
I just want to draw attention real quick to how well the valve motion is animated and modeled here. So if I change the cutoff, you can actually see as I come back from full reverse back to center, you can see the stroke of the valve shortening until I'm dead center and it's barely moving. I think it's really neat.
I mean, you could do it. It's just weird. No, they run 160s on the N train all the time. Is that the video of the dude with the hoagie?
Yes, it is.
I'm pretty sure that video is that popular because of the speed of the guy killing the sandwich
Yes,
in the foreground.
I'd like to believe that as well.
I mean, the N train is not normally via the Brighton line, so that is a little bit weird. But not particularly weird. Like, it does happen. But that dude killing the sandwich in two, like an entire sandwich in 2 bites, pretty impressive.
To be fair. No, I did not.
That was completely unplanned sandwich demolition.
Yeah, no, that was just by chance.
Okay, we're not having a sandwich eating duel here on this channel. How we doing on mileage?
What time is it? We're almost there. I think about probably another 25 minutes or so. We should be back in the yard. That's the thing about most of these museum ops is you're not really doing more than 30 miles an hour the whole way, so they're not particularly fast or anything.
That's what's nice about the UP.
It's not even about running people over, really. It's more about preserving the mechanical condition of the locomotives. Yeah, you can run locomotives fast, you run locomotives hard, but doing that really tears the machinery up, and it really increases the amount of maintenance that you need to do, and ultimately increase the cost of operating and maintaining the locomotive.
And they already spent $5 million on the damn things.
Yeah, so
They
the
don't want to spend
idea
more.
the idea is to restore and preserve these locomotives so that future generations can appreciate them. And you know, it's sort of, yeah, it's fun to run hard and run fast, but that sort of it detracts from that goal of preservation.
It is nice to see him really motor once in a while, though.
Yeah. To go out with the 844 this year, oh, it's gonna be fun trying to pace that thing doing 60.
Well, at least I can go over the minimum speed on the highway.
Yeah.
Trying to pace Big Boy doing 20 miles an hour on a county highway sucks. Especially when you got all the people who don't know what the hell they're doing. You know, like at this point, for two of us, we kind of have a system down. But then you get these people who come out who don't know what they're doing, who will do things like they'll cut you off tight and then slow way down so they get the front position, which is fine. That's kind of how you do it.
But then
Eventually
they'll
they give you
stay
some more
slower
space.
than the train.
Right,
No,
they
you
won't
speed
accelerate
up.
back to the train speed, so the train's like pulling past, and you're like, hello, now I'm 3 cars back.
Yeah.
There was this one guy on the last trip when we did Big Boy for the first time when they left Denver, or they left Cheyenne, and we were going to North Platte. And I don't remember which day it was, but it was like one of the long days.
We were only there for 2 days when they left.
Yeah, but it was the longer day, so I guess it was the first day. But so, because it wasn't the day we drove all the way back. So I guess it was the first day. But anyway, so we're in a Jeep Gladiator. Which, if you've never been in a Jeep Gladiator, it's not fun. Unless you're actually, like, taking it off-road and abusing the hell out of it. It is not a fun car to be in. It's tight, you don't have a ton of room. And as a comparison, I drive a Yukon. So, you can see how we're doing with space here. So, we're dealing in a tight car, and because it's got these giant off-road tires, we did not want a Gladiator, we wanted an F-150, but they didn't have one. So, it's got these giant, like, off-roading tires on it. So, when you step on the gas pedal, it takes forever to speed up. And then when you step on the brakes, it stops on a dime. So this thing is just a nightmare. And this lady with California license plates, and, like, her kid, who's, like, probably a teenager, is in the backseat of the minivan with the seats folded up and a tripod back there. Keeps cutting me off. And I'm trying to keep him somewhat on the engine. But she keeps cutting him, slamming on the brakes, clearly not paying attention on how to drive. Just paying attention on what her kid is telling her to do. So I gotta keep locking the wheels up on this ridiculous Jeep that I'm driving, which then just creates almost a stack up. So then I pull in front of her again, as she's going slower than Big Boy. And then she, like, guns it, flies around me, and cuts me off again. So finally, I just didn't slow down the last time when she would slow down, and she finally got the hint that I was probably going to run her off the road. And she stopped doing it. But, like, I shouldn't have to do that just for a 5-minute pace of an engine.
A lot of people out there don't know what they're doing. I'm honestly surprised that there aren't more road accidents.
We almost had how many? 2?
One that I remember. I know
I put it in the ditch, and the other one I got sandwiched.
I know that there was one that happened before the train got to New Orleans. It was the day we flew into New Orleans. I remember seeing that picture. The dude was, like, up against the Jersey barrier, and he was crashed into the Jersey barrier, but he was standing on the road taking pictures.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
But he had already wrecked his car.
Yes.
Yeah, he had, like, fully sideswiped the Jersey barrier. Then there was the one with the guy in the ditch who I didn't look like he'd wrecked it yet, but was going to wreck it getting out. And then I had to put our car in the ditch one time.
Yeah, that was coming into St. Louis. I remember that.
No, that was the woman who I finally got behind. Where I had to, like, split the middle line.
Oh, yeah.
It was in North Platte that I had to go into the ditch. It was the same idea. I was trying to pass somebody, and the guy who I was trying to cut in front of gunned it, so I couldn't. And the guy who I was trying to go behind was slowing down. So I finally just had to put it in the ditch on the other side to avoid passing somebody on a one-lane road. And then later on the main part coming into St. Louis, he's right. I'm trying to do the same move. We're not even pacing. Like, I had given up a while. We had given up a while.
Yeah, we were trying to get ahead of people.
We were trying to go way ahead, but nobody would let you in the line. So then finally I found a guy who was going to let me in. I was in the oncoming lane to do a pass. I'll continue after the whistle. So I'm trying to pass, and I'm trying to squeeze in, and the guy behind me, like who I'm trying to get in front of, is letting me in. But the lady in front of me keeps hitting her brakes, closing the hole behind her. And now I got oncoming traffic. I think in the end I just ran her off the road. I don't remember what we did.
We were in the middle. She had to ditch.
She had to go on the shoulder. The guy coming the other way ended up on the shoulder, and we just ended up sort of sandwiched between the two.
Yeah. Yeah, she was by far the worst idiot.
Yeah, that was almost a wreck.
Yeah, that could have been bad.
And then I did get the F-150 stuck.
Yeah, that was different though.
I just got stuck in the mud. I mean, we've chased enough at this point, whether it be Big Boy out west or around here, that we just sort of know the roles at this point. He's got a camera half out the window. So, I know my job is just to keep us safe and trying. It's like, priority number 1 is keep us safe. Priority number 2 is get him lined up. And, like, the one time I'm not actively chasing and pacing is the one time I almost have a problem. I was so mad.
No, a little fast.
But that's the life of pacing trains, so. As long as he never tells me, pace that Acela, I'm pretty happy.
Now that you don't have the Tesla anymore, I think it's kind of hard to do.
So you know how my battery in the Tesla used to drop like a rock when we'd go really fast? I think my gas gauge would go down at about the same rate in my current car.
Probably. Oh, where are we?
1 gallon per foot. I don't know, but the tender is all over the place.
Yeah, we're getting to that crappy part of the track right before it comes back onto the main here. So, we're about 2.5 miles back from the main line now.
You could possibly pace the Acela in an aircraft, except that you're in the busiest airspace in the world where the Acela runs. There was a guy when we were in California chasing the Big Boy trying to pace it in an ultralight. It didn't go too well for him. And there was a guy, where was that bridge? It was like the bridge across the Mississippi or something with the guy in the helicopter.
Oh, that was like a news agency.
Was it?
Yeah. That was like a news helicopter.
He kept like swooping in for the shot that he wanted, but getting too far ahead of the engine because they were doing like 20.
They weren't even doing 20. They were crawling across that bridge. I mean, most of those bridges have speed restrictions anyway, but...
And he probably went even slow. I mean, when he was
Yeah.
going across the long bridge, he was going...
He was doing
like,
10 most of the way.
Yeah, and causing a hell of a traffic jam.
I like I'm actually leaning in my seat as if I'm going to see better that way.
Yeah. I've done it. I do that in Run 8 all the time. Come on, I gotta be able to see around this stupid... Oh, wait a minute, this screen.
Yeah.
That ain't gonna help. I mean, we were leaving this town. I think it was like the last town we stopped in. And they literally had to walk the engine
Oh yeah, Chester. I remember that.
across the bridge. Like it was like a bridge over a road. Because he couldn't pull out. There were so many people standing in the way. I mean, it's like... I get that it's this engine, you've never seen it before, it's really cool. But is it really worth getting run over by? The way I always looked at it is there has never in history been a single train to hit a person. Especially a steam locomotive. You knew exactly where it was, exactly where it was going, and you had a pretty good hunch of how fast it was going. Oh, we're at this bit. It's not even the people who are trying to get photos. Like, I appreciate people getting close to get a photo. It's the people who just, like, demand standing within 3 inches of the engine at all times. Because no one will believe you were there if you're not in everybody's shot.
Never mind the fact that if you're standing right next to the goddamn cylinder, the only thing you're gonna see is the goddamn cylinder in any photo. That's why I don't get when people want you to be kissing the engine. Like, there's nothing to see. Step back and enjoy the bigger picture.
There was one of the towns we were leaving, they had the guys walking it out, and people were still too close and stopped and told the UP cops to clear it out better. And as the cops were walking like maybe a car length or two in front of the engine, and people were still getting close, so it just opens the cylinder cocks. It's like, I guess this'll fix it. Jet of really high pressure, hot steam comes blasting out of there.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Like on the subway. You know, the subway, it's different because the subway, you get more of the teenagers who have no respect for anything. Like, they start running the R32s this year for the goodbye to the R32 trip, like this fan trip they were doing for the holiday train. First day, somebody puts their foot through a fiberglass seat. For no reason. Like, it's almost the opposite. It's like a lack of respect, whereas everyone respects the big boy, but almost doesn't understand the power of it, so they think they can get close. Whereas on the subway, these guys are just nuts. You know, you'll get like a group of, 10 teenagers who are unsupervised?
Yeah.
Who just go batshit
Oh, I
crazy?
guarantee you, if the subway crazies went out to a big main Steam event like this, someone would die.
Somebody's getting hit.
Someone would die. I'm not even gassing. Like, someone would lose their life if one of these idiots, or a group
And
of
I
these
know who
idiots
it would
went
be,
out.
too. I can think of, it would be one of, 3 people. Part of the problem is the lack of supervision. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's that's probably a big part of it. Think about it.
If they came out for a big boy trip, there'd be more supervision, so you might not have as many problems.
Probably.
But when they just are allowed to go ride the subway with no parents and a gang of themselves, it leads to absolute havoc. And it makes no sense, because these are also guys who claim they love the system and all that.
No, they just love themselves.
But then all they do is cause havoc. You know how many people die hanging off the back of the subway like that every year? It's not even, it's like...
More than people care to know.
Yep.
That's for sure.
Were you with me when we got stuck at Rockaway Boulevard because of that?
I don't think so.
Or was I going to meet you?
I don't think so, honestly.
I don't remember why I was out at Rockaway Boulevard, but I was out at maybe I was going to the airport. Who knows? But I was out at Rockaway Boulevard station. Some guy decides that he's going to surf the back of the A train, and somebody reported him. So they call the cops. He finds out they called the cops and jumps off the back and is now running around on the right of way, trying to give the cops the slip. But he has no idea where he's going. And you're not going to win this argument. So after like 20 minutes of this, he comes running by on the middle track through Rockaway Boulevard Station, trying to elude the cops. The train operator from the train I had been on, trying to go to Far Rockaway, climbs down, sees him coming, climbs down, and takes one of the what we call a third rail slipper, which is a big yellow piece of wood. It looks like a cricket bat, and just cracks him with it in the chest and knocks him down. And the cops then catch up to him and arrest him. But I'm like, it shouldn't take a completely unrelated employee smashing a wooden paddle over his chest to fix this problem. Like, this is just ridiculous. And it's getting worse. Now we got all these homeless people living down there. Not that I don't think they gotta go somewhere, but there have been a couple of them who pushed people. They've been, you know, we had one on the train we were on this morning. I mean, who had no pants on. When I get onto a train and find somebody with no pants on, who smells like they haven't showered in about, oh, I don't know, a decade or two, that's kind of the end of riding that car. So, holy crap, a passenger station.
Yeah, we're back on the main line. This is the Amtrak stop. To Salisbury.
That would follow. It says it's track 5. Somebody Amtrak can't count.
No, it's location.
Oh. I was about to say, if that's track 5, somebody's math skills are really terrible. So what Amtrak train is that? The originals?
The Palmetto? The Palmetto or the Carolinian? I don't remember which. So yeah, you could take the train down to the NC Transportation Museum. It's just super inconvenient.
Anything with the Palmetto is super inconvenient.
Yes.
It gets back at like...
Oh yeah, at like midnight.
11:45 it gets into Penn. And it leaves dumb early in the morning.
Oh yeah, it leaves at like 6:30 or 7 o'clock or something like that. Perhaps even earlier.
What station was that?
Salisbury.
Salisbury, North Carolina. So you could take the Crescent, or you could take the Carolinian.
Okay.
If you take the Carolinian, you leave New York at... What in the hell? If you like the Carolinian, you leave New York at 7:25 in the morning. and it gets in at 8:04 p.m.
In the evening. Yep.
the next day,
Yeah,
or the same day, but
but
just
it's a whole
12
day. Yeah,
hours
it's like a
apart.
13-hour trip.
If you take the Crescent, it departs at 2:15 p.m. and you get in at 1:30 in the morning.
Told you it was inconvenient.
Although it's cheaper than going to Boston.
Well, yeah, because no one goes between those two city pairs.
Like, for Christ's sake. And Amtrak makes like 100% of its profit off of
Yeah.
the Northeast Corridor. So I picked a random day to go back, right? So the Carolinian leaves at 7:30 in the morning. And the Crescent was canceled. But the Crescent leaves at 6:15 in the morning anyway.
Oh.
So,
I mean, granted, it's usually pretty late at that point.
it's canceled anyway.
Yeah.
So it's really late.
Yeah. Was that 7:28 a.m.?
Yeah. Or 6 something a.m.
Yeah, not exactly the most convenient way to get around.
And the Carolinian doesn't even have like a bedroom.
Yeah. That's where you camp out in the cafe car all
car.
day.
Eating them crappy pizzas.
Yeah.
Although I think they probably will be run out of them by the time they get to, like, Wilmington.
Probably. Alright, so we're coming back in on the museum limits here. We're gonna pull this train back into about its original position, and then we'll use this track here to run back around, take on water, and then we'll reattach the locomotive to the front of the train, and I think we'll call it a day at that point.
Yeah, and I think we'll do this more often than once a month or a year from now on.
Yeah. I think the last time we did this was like last summer.
Yeah. Okay. More than twice a year. And if we do the Boston trip, I'll live stream from Boston. If we go to Philly or something, I'll do that. If I can get my phone to hold a charge. Don't you love when your phone gets more than like a year and a half old and start losing all its battery charge in like, 6 hours instead of 18?
Yeah, that's lithium-ion batteries for you.
Well, we can Type 9 hunt in Boston again, but we can now also hunt for the more elusive orange line and red line cars.
Yeah.
Although, that'll make live streaming interesting.
I mean, most of those two lines are pretty above ground anyway.
I guess, yeah, we can stick to the above ground parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that too. We've filmed at 128. We have been to Back Bay. Nasty place to hang out though, Back Bay.
Just want to suffocate.
We have never done... yeah, I think the only reason we hung out at Back Bay for a while is because that's where we parked the last time we drove into Boston.
Yes, that is why.
We have never done anything out of North Station. We've been to North Station.
I mean, North Station's kind of boring.
Yeah, but we've never gone past it.
Oh, yeah. Well, most of that area up there is quiet zone, I think.
Yeah. And the lines all split up really quick.
Yes.
I don't know. We'll find some fun stuff to do. If we stay in a hotel, we'll probably stay somewhere around 128.
Yeah.
Last time we were up there, we were staying in the Providence area because we thought we were chasing the new Acella's testing up there, and that plan worked. Fucking thing never showed up. So we ended up driving into Boston the first day, and I think we took the train into Boston the second day.
Something like that.
And we got off at 128 to go get some, or no, we got off the highway at 128 when we were driving, thinking we'll go get some lunch. And there's this great hotel like right at the train station. We're like, well, fuck, let's just stay here next time. So if we do that, we'll take the train to 128. Probably end up getting some footage at 128 again. The corridor up there is fun because of the diesels. So you actually get some variety. We just gotta wait till rush hour is during the daylight, like fully.
Yeah.
Yeah, 128's great too because you can get there on the Acela, you can get there on the regional, and if you're heading into Boston, you can take the regional. You could take the Acela. I don't know why you would, but you could. But you can also take commuter rail in, and it's not an asininely long trip like when we stay at TF Green. And when we took the train up to TF Green last time, it was literally take the train to Providence, wait around in Providence for like an hour. I think we eventually gave up and took a cab back to TF Green, or we took the bus or something
We took the cab to
to the hotel.
the hotel. We called an Uber.
Yeah, and then we had to walk to the airport, which we were staying at an airport hotel because it was cheap. There's actually a really nice airport hotel at TF Green Airport if you're ever staying up there. I forget which one it is now. I think it's the Hyatt.
Yes.
Really nice hotel. Right next to the corridor too. Like it shares a parking lot with the TF Green Airport train station. But trying to catch, I think going back, we actually did catch MBTA back to Providence to catch our Amtrak, but we like ended up cutting it close or something. I don't remember. That whole trip was stressful. But yeah, if we're going to Boston, we're gonna stay at 128 and take MBTA. We're probably not going to do any of this for like a month or two, but probably like mid-April, the earliest. Back up to the water tower.
Yep. Okay, so we're back at the water tower. We ended up using, let's see, how much water do we end up using? Let's see, 20240 minus 7321 times 1.2. So we ended up using 15,500 gallons or so of water, which is a little bit more than I anticipated we would. But that's still well within the range of this tender. So I would say that's a successful trip. Let's see. Alright, so oop. Take on water here. See, let's take on water here, and then while we're here, we can blow the boiler down.
Nice of you getting it all ready for the next trip.
Yeah. Okay. Tender's full. Let's put the locomotive back on the train, and we'll call it a day.
Alright, so as we're heading back to the engine here, I'm just going to take this opportunity to say thank you everyone for watching. And hope you enjoyed. We are going to try and do these combined streams more often in the future. I know I said that last time, and, well, you know, didn't really follow through on that, but I mean it this time. You know, shit got in the way,
Like life.
like life and like a certain thing that kept everybody indoors.
I mean, we did that in the middle of the pandemic too. I don't think it really.
Well, we did it in that lull.
No.
But so, yeah. So we are going to do this more often. We're still backing the engine on, but I would be surprised if it takes as long as it took from the first to the second as from the second to the third. Unless obviously we have a trip or something in between, and then we'll do something from wherever we are. But yeah, so thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you download this engine. Remember, it is free. The link is in the description. And also make sure you download the mod pack for it, which we of course were running today. all it's doing is helping to make the engine more realistic and make your experience with the sim better. Also check out all of Fanriller's other videos, as well as all of his other mod packs for Train Simulator, all available at the website nyctarailfan.com. Alright, I'll be back with you guys. I'm going to try, tomorrow's Saturday, so I'll see if I can get on tomorrow. If not, no, I probably won't be on tomorrow, but I'm going to try to be on Sunday, possibly tomorrow, probably on Twitch as usual. And then we'll resume with BVE and the usually scheduled programming. But yeah, so thanks again for watching, and I'll shut up as we hitch up.
Alright, that's a wrap. Thanks for watching, and until next time, we'll see ya.
Have a good night, everybody.